Hi, Mystery Writers. Welcome to the Mystery Writers Studio. I am Zara Altair, and today we're going to talk about your suspects. And they're just so important. They're like the meat and potatoes of your mystery, and they serve a really important role because mystery readers love a puzzle. And they want to solve that puzzle before your detective, but as a novel writer, you don't want that to happen. You want to keep your reader guessing until the very, very end. And when your sleuth, through their expert skills, reveals the villain, it's a surprise for your reader. And the role of your suspects is to keep your reader guessing. Um, so you have a murder to solve, and you create a detective to solve the murder, and you have a villain who committed the crime, and those three elements form the base of your mystery story. But your suspects set the shape of the puzzle. You need three-dimensional characters with unique traits to baffle your reader and keep them guessing. So, what makes a good suspect in a mystery? The prime job of your suspect is to keep your reader guessing. And to make that work, you need to connect the reader to each suspect and make them memorable and raise questions about their authenticity. Each suspect needs to be distinct, from their name to their personality to their underlying motives. Each character will stay in your reader's mind if they are unique. And creating suspects is much more than putting them in a lineup in your head: suspect 1, suspect 2, suspect 3. Your reader will be confused if the suspects are similar. So aim to make each one as distinct and unique as possible. So when a suspect reappears after 50 pages, your reader needs to identify them right away. You don't want them in the old days thumbing back in the book or scrolling back in their reader. You don't want them asking if Sally is the one with the border terrier who wins all the agility trials, or was she the one who covers her home with endless needlepoint samplers. So, how do you differentiate your suspects? What do you do to make them different and make them different in your reader's mind? First of all, they need a unique name. Uh, and you want to start each name with a separate letter of the alphabet. So Sally and Susie and Jim or John are too close. You really want to make those names distinct in your story. So try diverse names like Sally and Genevieve or Jim and Arturo. It doesn't matter, just make them really separate so it's easier for your reader to make them distinct and to keep them from being confused. Was that Jim or John who did that? All right. One of the things you can do is give each suspect an initially recognizable physical characteristic. So one may have a perpetual frown, one may have flame red hair, a limp, a lisp, a scar, something that helps your reader remember the character from their last appearance in your story. Oh, yeah, okay, I remember her. All right. And they're all suspects because they had a relationship to the victim, but you want to make those relationships different for each suspect. So one may be a friend, one may be a business partner, one may be a relationship rival, one may be a relative, one may be an opponent, one may be a resentful neighbor. Anyway, give them distinct relationships to the victim, and that, oh my goodness, I apologize, I forgot to turn this off. All right. I'm really sorry. So make that relationship to the victim really distinct and emphasize it for your reader so they understand this was the one who's the irritating neighbor. This was the one who was their rival in business. All right. So also, each suspect needs a unique reason for disliking or coming to be at odds with the victim. You know, to raise questions in your reader's mind about why did this particular individual, why did they have trouble with the victim? And each suspect needs a secret to cover up. This is really going to help you when you do your character development. If you give each suspect a secret, it may have nothing to do with the actual crime. They just have a personal secret they want to keep hidden from the public, and the public includes your detective. And so they're going to work hard to cover up that secret, even if it isn't related to the crime, and they're going to raise questions in your reader's mind and in your detective's mind. All right. Um, but because that secret is an underlying motive for not being forthcoming with your detective. They're hiding something from the detective, and you have to, the detective has to sort out if that something is related to the crime or not. I hope that makes sense. But that's one of the ways that you can really add some dimensionality to your suspect, and also make them memorable in your reader's mind. So the whole idea of this circle of suspects, as it were, they each have unique traits, they have unique relationships to the victim, and they have reasons to lie. And the suspect's role in your story is to keep your reader guessing. That's their primary role in your story and when you're creating your novel. So, a question that comes up a lot, especially with beginning readers, is how many suspects should you have? So, while you want to keep the reader guessing, you don't want to confuse them. Confused readers may stop reading, and that's why you need an ideal number of suspects, not too few and not too many. Too few suspects will make it easier for your reader to eliminate the other possibilities and make it quite possible they can guess or have very strong suspicions about who your villain is. And so if you have fewer than 3 suspects, your reader's not going to feel challenged. So 3 at minimum, 4 or 5 is even better. And then on the other hand, when you create too many suspects, your reader may feel confused but not challenged. It's just like this whole array, and they're like, okay, never mind, I give up. All right. They're reading your book because they want a challenge. They want that challenge of guessing who the villain is. So, somewhere between 4 to 8 suspects is is an ideal number. You'll have enough suspects to perplex your reader and the sleuth, and you won't have so many that the reader is confused. Okay. One other thing about suspects, and that is the more 3 dimensional they are, the more the reader cares about them, and it, creating your novel is all about giving your reader a guessing game. So your detective leads your reader through the story, and the suspects put the puzzle in context, and each suspect has a role to play in guiding the detective toward the final solution. Because your reader knows one suspect is the villain. And in their interactions with the detective, the suspects give and they conceal. And they create context for your reader about how they fit into the story. And each suspect knows the different the victim differently, and so each suspect is going to create their unique picture of who that victim is. Like in the second act, when your detective is finding out about the victim as well as meeting all these suspects, each suspect, because of their different relationship with the victim, is going to have a slightly different picture of who that victim was and how they operated in their world. And each suspect interacts with your sleuth differently as well. And you build curiosity and connection to each suspect. Um, if they say, for instance, if your reader likes a suspect, their emotional response, maybe, no, 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 don't make it be her. They really like that suspect. All right. And if the reader dislikes a suspect, they'll root for the detective to understand that suspect's relationship to the victim. So this is how you get your reader involved in your story. And distinct and rich character development makes each suspect relatable to your reader, and they're going to have that emotional connection with the suspect. They're either going to like them or not like them, or find them terribly puzzling, or whatever it is that their emotional response is. But you've created an emotional response, and you've taken them away from suspect 1, suspect 2, suspect 3. They're all individual, unique suspects in your story. Um, and also, if you're writing a psychological mystery like P.D. James or Elizabeth George or Anne Cleeves, going deep into your characters gives your reader even more to ponder. All right. So, you want to manage your mystery suspects to give your reader satisfaction. They are the meat and potatoes. They're really what fills up both Act 2 and Act 3 of your 4-act mystery, because your detective is having all these relationships with all these different suspects and trying to figure out what is real, what information they're getting from the suspects actually relates to the crime itself. You're just building all these questions in your reader's mind, which helps you make that big puzzle that your reader wants to solve. So it's important to paint a picture of the type of people that you want to introduce in your story. So give each suspect a full description, complete with those unique identifiers, and those identifiers will fix the character in the reader's mind. So as they keep meeting them again and again in the story, they'll recognize who they are. And you can do that in a variety of ways. Um, and the best way is to get your readers to care about each one of those suspects. And when I say care, I really mean to have an emotional connection with them, because they may not like a particular suspect, but that suspect, unlikable as they are, may not be the actual villain. Okay, so those emotional connections bond the reader to the characters, and they bond the reader to your story, and they help create that sense of, oh, I want to find out what happens next. I really don't understand what this suspect is doing, and they keep turning the pages and reading along to find out what happens next. So essentially, the more details you provide for each suspect, the greater the satisfaction for your reader. Okay, I hope that helps. Suspects are definitely the meat and potatoes, and also the colorful flavor of your novel. So don't skimp on creating those suspect characters. Make them intriguing, make them different, and you'll have fun creating them, and your readers are going to enjoy reading your mystery. As always, if you have any questions, put them in the comments, and I will see you next week in Mystery Writers Studio.